The Ignite conference keynote just finished, and it should be no surprise to anyone that Microsoft continues to accelerate its agentic journey. We heard of new capabilities like Agent 365, a new approach to agentic data with WorkIQ, and a new collection of frontier and non-frontier agents across user-facing and admin-facing experiences. Overall, Microsoft's messaging about AI continues to get clearer, and its offering, while expanding, is becoming easier to navigate and understand when juxtaposed to the 100 plus random copilots who were floating around just 2 years ago. But the real juxtaposition this year, in my view, was the way that Judson Althoff, Microsoft's CEO of commercial business, headlining this event with no Satya in sight, tackled the issue of business value concerns head on, and frankly, in a way that I think all of us helping businesses in the AI space can totally relate to.
First, the alignment between business and IT professionals is very inconsistent. Second, there's a sea of data quality issues out there that need to be rationalized by AI developers in order to get meaningful output from the efforts. Third, governance and requirements in the markets, whether they be regulatory or otherwise, require AI to be kept on the sidelines from real major efforts that can impact business. And finally, there's an overemphasis on experimentation, random acts of innovation, rather than AI being put to use at scale across real business scenarios that can make an impact.
So in this video, I'm going to review what were those most important and impactful Ignite tech announcements, alongside this new, more conciliatory and human-focused view of how to get value from the tech that was presented at this event. Since the first days of Microsoft 365 Copilot customization and extensibility that eventually led us into the picture we see today with agents, one of the questions that has echoed amongst IT pros and admins is how do we manage all these things to make sure they are safe? I don't think it's unreasonable criticism to suggest that Microsoft has been playing catch-up on this issue for a while, deploying admin interfaces and management structures in response to manageability problems new AI tools have started to create. But with Microsoft Agent 365, we effectively have a long-term, resilient direction that can apply to what we see in agentic infrastructure right now, and anything that might come along in the future. Agents will be treated and managed like users, and also all of Microsoft's primary management and security products will happily respond to agentic users, just as they respond to human ones. The breadth of vision for Agent 365 is new, but the core building blocks of this philosophy are not. For example, one of the biggest pieces of this approach, Microsoft Entra Agent ID, has been in the public realm for a while. Now that vision is expanded and its reach has grown to cover a wide variety of agentic options within the Microsoft stack. The long-held wishlist item of a solid foundation to grow a sustainable management approach for agents and other AI resources from is now here. Agent 365 is a control plane dedicated to your agentic teams that includes a registry, kind of like a directory of agentic users, access control and security, visualization of what they're up to, assignable capabilities for interoperability, and governance. This tooling applies across interface points like Copilot Studio and Microsoft Foundry, as well as with agents from third parties and from Microsoft. Undoubtedly, this approach makes a lot of sense. Microsoft already has tools in place that admins are familiar with to control practically every area of concern relevant to agents. Turning that tooling and experience towards agents rather than building something entirely distinct is sensible and sets out a vision where a workforce for any company can be this frontier organization picture where humans and AI work together seamlessly. WorkIQ is the new intelligence layer Microsoft's AI experiences rely on, bringing together content we've talked about in the context of the Copilot Semantic Index and Context IQ, but also including memory and AI inference based on this data to build a picture of your business and your work on tasks and projects. This gets back to the picture of Microsoft 365 Copilot we were first shown that seems like so long ago now. The value of Copilot isn't purely in AI power, it's in contextual relevance. And an honest telling of these last couple of years is that it's appeared far easier to amplify that AI power that it has the real contextual relevance that allows the tools to understand your business and your work seamlessly. With WorkIQ, by bringing together content, memory, and AI-based thinking related to those assets, this is the start of building a relevancy engine for Microsoft 365 Copilot that is distinctly different than most other providers. Several times in the keynote, a comparison to connectors was mentioned, but what exactly is it that's
simply not possible with connectors?
Microsoft's moat isn't AI, it's data that it can look at and analyse holistically, rather than API request by API request. Companies like OpenAI and Anthropic that provide tools to connect to outside services like Gmail have access to far less data about that content than Microsoft does for equivalent content in Microsoft 365. This has been a differentiator that arguably Microsoft has failed up until now to leverage to the degree it could have done, but now it seems the value of that distinction has become a core concern for Copilot's makers. However, they didn't just stop with WorkIQ in Copilot. This same data and understanding at front-of-mind approach is spreading across the Microsoft technology stack. FabricIQ brings a similar approach to Fabric data, including everything you have is semantic models for Power BI. And in Microsoft Foundry, the new name for Azure AI Foundry, we now also get Foundry IQ, allowing us to use WorkIQ and other RAG assets across agents and other AI workflows there. The story Microsoft wants us to focus on is that they are the stewards of much of the business data that exists, and they are building the plumbing that allows that data to become robust, reliable, and relevant AI-generated insights. Very little of this is 100% new, but it has been contextualized in a way with a new set of tool integrations, and insofar as Microsoft's offer is distinctly different from those other AI providers that just give you access to API-based connectors, I'm totally on board with the value of this differentiation point. But the value of these tools isn't just in the data plumbing. Albeit that is very important in Microsoft's offer, it's also about what capabilities we get to users and how and where they can access them. One of the biggest groups of announcements was about how new capabilities extend into existing licenses. Agent mode in Excel and Word were joined by a new agent mode in PowerPoint, and now we learn that these features aren't just coming to those with a Microsoft 365 Copilot license, but to anyone with a Microsoft 365 license and access to Copilot Chat. On top of this, Copilot Chat users are also going to get access to a greater level of data integration in Outlook, allowing Copilot to present insights from throughout the inbox. But the first announcement I noticed that got spontaneous audience applause during the keynote was that Security Copilot is now being added to Microsoft 365 E5 licenses. The new App Builder agent was put front and centre, and yes, I will get a video out on that, but I certainly won't be replicating the demo Microsoft put forth during the keynote, as if you want an employee scheduling management app, why not just use shifts? I don't care how good the App Builder agent might be, it certainly doesn't build from a single prompt an app as robust as something that Microsoft itself has deployed into Teams. But this sort of off-note was few and far between in what was actually a very slick set of presentations. Demos of capabilities like Teams-based Copilot group chat and adding Copilot into Teams conversations reinforces the relevancy of the argument that Copilot works as an option largely because it is where people work. And with WorkIQ underneath all these interactions, the more you work in Microsoft 365, the richer the insights you get back. And for focused agentic needs, new innovations like Sales Development Agent will drive sellers to having out-of-the-box tools that better support their processes. And for admins, we saw new agentic options in Azure, and there are more coming to places like the Teams Admin Center. For makers and pros, we saw exciting new developments like Claude Skills running in Azure, which may help us define the next generation of agents as not just being fenced in to be safer, but built on safer AI from the ground up. Agents are not slowing down, but hopefully at least by building on the other announcements like Agent 365 and WorkIQ, we can better understand how this explosion of agents and other AI experiences from Microsoft, from third parties, and from within our own organisations can be better managed, observed, and ultimately adopted for organisational benefit. The AI news I see daily strikes me as a kind of Jekyll and Hyde character, where on one hand we're sitting in a bubble of hype and failed AI experiments within companies, while at the same time deploying a technology that will replace us and lead to apocalypse. It seems unlikely that both of these views can be true. But the reality is that for many organisations, achieving AI-based ROI has been trickier than companies like Microsoft or OpenAI seem to have been highlighting in marketing. By starting with acknowledgement of these concerns and framing the presentation around business impact rather than technology hype, this was a slightly more refreshing approach from Microsoft. Don't get me wrong, the hype was there, but hopefully more balanced and more actionable. There are real technology improvements in what was highlighted today, but also more recognition of the barriers many organisations have found up until now, focusing on intelligence, safety and observability alongside building out more access to more tools, strikes a better balance where Microsoft is still leading the pack, but also showing off what 40 years as the preeminent business software maker has taught them about how to make their customers successful. I'm excited about what comes next. What about you? Let me know what were your highlights or lowlights in the comments. Thanks for watching through to the end. Until the next video, bye bye.